Let's start with what you're hearing on Capitol Hill about a timetable for this. Of course, Kevin Brady, the congressman, promising this would be on the president's desk in the first 100 days. What's the latest you're hearing on Capitol Hill, Kevin?
Well, it's not going to be in the first 100 days, David. I've spoken with several aides and lawmakers earlier this morning on Capitol Hill who tell me that they note that Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin wants to get comprehensive tax reform done by August. And first, a series of steps has to happen in order for that to make it to the president's desk. It would first have to go through committee, and then it would have to go to the floor of the House, and then kick it over to the Senate, and then have to go through reconciliation. Now, all of that is very standard, but what's not standard here is just how divided this Republican caucus is on a host of policy issues. And the House Freedom Caucus is feeling a bit emboldened this week, particularly after their policy win following last week's health care debacle. Now, when you take that at hand, they feel that they have the leverage in negotiations with Speaker Ryan on a host of policy tax issues, including most notably the border adjustment tax, which Speaker Ryan has been a strong proponent of, arguing that it would allocate $1 trillion worth of revenue into the U.S. government. Now, the White House hasn't taken a position on this, but they're going to have to. All of that means that it is going to take quite some time in order for them to get comprehensive tax reform done. Yesterday
at the daily press briefing, Sean Spicer, the press secretary, said the White House is driving the train, his words. What role is the White House playing so far as you know? You mentioned the border adjustment tax, but more broadly speaking, when you talk about tax reform, how involved is Gary Cohn saying?
Well, I can tell you that happening right now across town at the Capitol, Vice President Mike Pence is scheduled to be meeting with top Republicans in the Senate to have lunch with them. And of course, it comes after a series of criticisms being lobbed at this administration for not having the whip operation in place to execute their initiatives on health care. They feel that they do have the operation in place, and that, of course, being led by the likes, as you mentioned, of Gary Cohn, Secretary Mnuchin, but of course, including Vice President Pence, who has taken on a much more hands-on approach in the last couple of days.